Hello and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Monday, the 11th of December. Yesterday on Gospel on the Go, I was talking about Advent as like the period of time the couple of weeks before a wedding for a really organized bride. All the decisions are made, there's last minute details, of course, but the actual wedding doesn't happen until the wedding day. But there's all that recognition that the preparation's been done, and there's just little things, as I said, the details that need to be ironed out, and the anticipation. So Advent is a season of anticipation and preparation. But there's also a sense of Advent about a true Advent, not just the getting ready for Christmas Advent, like the Advent calendars, but I mean that real Advent, those Advents in our lives when we are on the brink of something happening, when we recognize that our world is changing. Maybe it's a new relationship or a new job, but there's something that we're waiting for to happen that's big and hasn't happened yet. And there's the difference between an Advent like that and the Advent we use to prepare for Christmas, the Christmas season, is that we know that with the Advent for the Christmas season, we know everything's going to happen. We know we have the basics. But in the Advent seasons in our lives, we don't have that guarantee that we know for sure what the outcome is going to be, the way we do when we plan the church year. So an Advent can often be a time not just of preparation and anticipation, but there can be some anxiety in there as well. An example I'd like to use here is a football game I was watching yesterday. Our household is Sunday, Sunday football, Monday football, Thursday football, football whenever football's on. But in particular, Sunday afternoon football when the Ravens are playing, the Baltimore Ravens. And they are currently 10-3, excellent season they're having. And that's my husband's favorite team. Hence, I don't know much about football. I'm learning about the downs and down by contact and things like that, touchbacks. But I'm still a very much a beginner in football. But I do enjoy watching a good game with him. And because the Ravens are his team, they're my team. And so I came home from church yesterday, and Rob made me some lunch, and I was sitting down to eat my lunch and watch the game with him. I started watching partway through the fourth period, and they were losing. And it was tight though. They were losing by 1 or 2 points. And so there was a sense of anticipation. There's possibility. There's hope that they can come back. And then with like a minute and a half left in the game, maybe 2 minutes, I think it was a minute and a half left in the game, they scored. They got a touchdown. And I'm naive. I thought this was it. The game's over. They won. Awesome. They got their 7 points. They're ahead by, 5 points or something like that. 6 point. I don't think they're all ahead by six, but they were ahead by, 4 or 5 points. This is great. The game's over. And Rob's like, nope, just wait. And lo and behold, didn't the Rams come back and tie the game? So they end up with they must have been ahead by three because the Rams came back and tied the game like 31-31 or something with like no time left in the game. So the game goes to overtime. Well, then we get into overtime and I'm like losing my stuff. I am like so excited. The Rams are playing well, but the Ravens are going to win. Lamar Jackson, he's going to do it. He's going to take it home for them. And we're watching the game and the Rams, I think it looked an awful lot like they had a touchdown, but they didn't, or something like that happened. And it was like fumbles and things, and there was a call that Rob disagreed with, and it looked like it was going to go poorly for the Ravens. And yet, the Ravens came back out, took the ball. They got the other team had their fourth down or something. So the Ravens come out, get the ball. There's not much time left. They're in overtime, and just Lamar Jackson throws the ball and Flowers grabs it and runs down and gets to the end zone. And it was amazing. And they had the touchdown and the game was theirs. And I didn't realize that though. I didn't understand the rules of overtime. And I was anxious. I'm like, oh my heavens, like did he really get it? And what's happening now? And I was until Rob's like, no, they won. They won the game. And I realized in that moment how I was so excited that the Ravens won the game. Do I really care? I won't remember, by Thursday of this week. But in that moment, I remember thinking, this is what Advent feels like sometimes. The advent of the new things in our lives, the new seasons. Again, like whether it's meeting somebody that you realize is going to be an important person in your life, or starting a new job, moving on to something new, some adventure that you've never tried before, and yet you're taking that giant leap of faith that God will help you through this. That this season of getting ready for that moment when you make that leap, that season where you are doing the preparation, you are working hard, you are doing everything you can to make sure that you're ready for whatever comes next. And the anticipation, the knowledge that it's right there, it's just beyond my reach, but if I keep on going, I'll get there. It's going to happen. And then there's also that sense of anxiety, that sense of it's not yet. What if it doesn't happen? And I don't know about you, but I try to be a faithful person. And I really am a believer. And I do trust that if God's in any of it, God's in all of it. But that doesn't mean that I don't have questions. I don't have doubts. I don't have moments when I think, well, what if I misinterpreted? What if I prepared wrong? What if I'm anticipating the wrong thing? That anxiety creeps in, like watching that football game. This anxiety that they had the lead, and then they lost the lead and it was tied, and now are they going to score or not? Is the other team going to score? And then they got it, and did they really get it? Is this for sure? This is over. This incredible anxiety that can be just a tiny little bit of this of your sense of Advent, or in some Advents, the anxiety can be like way out here. And I keep thinking back on my own life, the number of times in those days and weeks and months that were leading up to a new thing, a new experience, a new challenge, that sometimes I recognized that I was in an Advent season, that I was waiting for something big to happen. And I knew what it was before my ordinations, before my wedding, things like that. But there were other seasons in my life when I was living through an Advent time, but I didn't realize it. I just knew that something was changing. It was like that when I met Rob. I had no inkling that he existed, and when he did, we were just friends. And yet there was something happening. All kinds of things were happening in my life, in my work, in my faith life, in my prayer life. Things were changing a little bit, and I couldn't figure out why. It wasn't intentional. I wasn't purposely preparing or anticipating something new, but God was preparing me for something new. God was planting the seeds of anticipation for something I didn't even know to anticipate. And then this beautiful thing happened when I met this person who became my best friend, who eventually became my husband, my confidant, my partner, my my everything, my rock, my true north. I've got lots of names for Rob. Some of them I some of them are when I'm mad. I'm sure he's got some names for me too. But the fact is, God was preparing me for months before I met Rob. When I look back, I realize things were happening differently in my life. New opportunities were being given to me that I had no idea what they were preparing me for. No, nor did I have any idea what I was anticipating, but I was anticipating that something new was happening. God was doing a new thing. And I really think that's what Advent's really about. Advent isn't just, I think, in our lives, like capital A Advent in the church is definitely about preparing for the second coming of Christ, not for the birth of the baby. But also I think we have small a Advents in our lives when we're moving through our life cycles, and we're moving through the seasons of our life, when we begin to recognize that something's changing, that the the trajectory of our path has taken a shift, and we're going someplace we didn't anticipate going before, and we don't know where that might be, but God does. And part of the Advent journey, not only participation or preparation and anticipation, and indeed recognition of the anxiety of the unknowns, but also trust, that we need to trust that where we are going, we will be prepared to go, because that's what we're doing. We are preparing and being prepared for where God is calling us to go. So as you walk through this capital A, big A Advent season, might you also begin to recognize your little a Advent season, and then be ready to celebrate the touchdowns in your life, those moments when you thought things weren't going to work out, but they did, or that maybe the things you thought would work out worked out differently, and you found out afterward that, this working out was a lot better than I had planned. Enjoy your Advent seasons, wherever and whenever they might be, and celebrate the gift that is the moments that lead up to that moment when you realize what Advent was preparing you for. Have a great day. God bless. And I'll see you tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel when I talk about sisters.